We've all seen those videos of teachers going viral for giving their students some truly savage responses. But have you ever seen anything like this? Welcome back to school, where you get top-notch education and maybe a bite or two on the neck if you're unlucky. Yep, it seems that zombies have finally evolved from being slow, shambling corpses to intelligent beings capable of infiltrating the most protected places on Earth, schools. What are we gonna do? Sit back and watch our entire generation be wiped out by an undead army? No chance. Today, we're gonna fight back with knowledge. Knowledge is power. And these zombies don't know the first thing about the great philosophers. So let's teach them a thing or two about what it means to be human. Our first story comes from Reddit user Lumpy_Grumpus, who shares their experience when they were still a student. The year before my freshman year, there was an outbreak of a zombie virus in our city. Of course, it was not a real zombie virus, but instead a flesh-eating bacteria that was somehow transmitted through mosquito bites. It sounds bad, and it was 32 people lost their lives to it. Most of the victims were elderly or immunocompromised. So the general consensus was that since I was healthy, there was nothing to worry about. I started school and everything seemed normal. About 2 weeks after school had started, though, the lab called me into the nurse's office because one of my classmates had turned up dead the night before. I remember how even though she had died, her arms were still raised in the classic George Romero zombie fashion. Yikes! Whatever was going on, they quarantined the school and tested everyone for the disease. We didn't find out until much later what had really happened. After more than a dozen other students and staff ended up dying, they finally admitted that the school was basically a death sentence. You either died from the infection or were bitten by someone else who would die from the infection. There was no escape. We were held in that school for 3 months until they found a cure. I think it was actually more like 5 months, though, because they used us guinea pigs to test the cure on. They wouldn't let anyone leave until they were sure that it worked. All in all, I would say I'm lucky. Only a few dozen people ended up surviving the outbreak. And if they hadn't locked us inside the school, I probably would have been one of the casualties. But yeah, I guess it does kind of suck when your class schedule has suddenly changed from advanced placement physics to advanced prison. Our next post is from a different Reddit user who preferred to stay anonymous. My art teacher was teaching us how to draw hands and feet when we heard the loudspeaker crackle to life. Attention students and faculty. This is Code Red. Please proceed to the nearest shelter. We were confused. Code Red was the lockdown signal, but there were no intruders reported. What was it this time? Then a girl in the front row piped up, Ms. Williams. Could this be the zombie outbreak? Our teacher, Ms. Williams, stared at the loudspeaker for a moment. Why are you drawing hands, feet, and brains? Brains, she said with a sigh. What are you talking about? Not that again! We'd even having a class discussion about zombie outbreaks earlier that week, and some of the kids thought it would be hilarious to keep bringing it up whenever Miss Williams got distracted. It was cute, but also slightly annoying. Anyway, I walked over to the window and looked out onto the normally bustling quad. Now it was completely empty, not even a pigeon. I wonder where they all went. As I watched, a few other students trickled in from outside, looking pale and clutching their stomachs. One of them collapsed in the middle of the room, clutching his stomach and moaning. And then another one, and then another. Suddenly, Ms. Williams grabbed her bag and shouted, "Okay, class dismissed." Everyone filed out of the classroom in a single file line and ran in the direction of the library, which served as our shelter during. As we ran, I heard Miss Williams call out, "Stay close to me. I don't know what's going on outside, but there are people out there who are sick, and they need our help." I looked back at her in surprise. Where did that come from? Was this part of the plan? I pushed the thought out of my mind and followed the line around the corner into the library. That's when I saw them. 3 students lay on the floor groaning. A group of upperclassmen were kneeling over them chanting, "Brains, brains, brains." Oh no! The last thing I remember was a sharp pain in my leg and then darkness. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor in a dark room with a towel pressed against my injured leg. The door burst open and Miss Williams rushed inside, relief flooding her face. "You're awake. Thank goodness." "Come on! We have to go." "Why?" "Because I don't want to be bitten by one of those things." She helped me up and we hurried out of the building. As soon as I stepped outside, I knew something was wrong. The familiar bell schedule of my high school was replaced by the constant sound of sirens wailing and shouting. Students and teachers ran frantically through the hallways, tripping over each other to get away from something. What was out there? Miss Williams pulled me close and whispered, "Let's just get to the soccer field." "What are we doing there?" I asked. "We're meeting up with Mr. Thompson and the others." Mr. Thompson was the head of the science department. He'd spearheaded the effort to install surveillance cameras around the school. Ever since he'd convinced the administration to spend money on cameras instead of new textbooks, the cameras became known as Big Brother, and Mr. Thompson became our unofficial leader in times of crisis. "Why are we meeting him there?" "We're leaving town." "Leaving town? What? Where are we going?" I felt a pang of fear. "Are we really running away from this?" "Yes. Mr. Thompson has managed to secure transportation for us." "Just get in the car." As I stumbled towards the soccer field, I couldn't help but notice the carnage around me. A girl I knew sat slumped against the bleachers, her arm torn open, revealing the rotting flesh beneath. Her eyes rolled back in her head and she moaned hungrily, "Brained." I screamed and Miss Williams put a hand over my mouth. "She'll just keep running." We made it to the soccer field without incident. A battered minivan was waiting for us, along with Mr. Thompson and 4 other teachers. We piled into the car, bumping and jostling for space, and Mr. Thompson slammed the door shut behind him. "Here goes nothing." He started the engine and we pulled out of the parking lot. Behind us, the school bell clanged, signaling the end of the day and the beginning of the nightmare. As we sped down the deserted highway, I looked back at the school. A dark shape was lumbering out of the woods behind it. It shambled closer and closer, arms outstretched, until it was right next to the road. The creature sniffed the air and let out a blood-curdling scream. "Run!" Well, that escalated quickly. If only they had a few minutes to learn self-defense. Instead of playing video games all day, maybe they would have stood a chance. Speaking of standing a chance, check out Standing a Chance, How to Survive a Zombie Apocalypse by Michael Z. Williamson. In this book, a young man wakes up to find his world has been overrun by zombies. He soon realizes that he might stand a chance at survival. If he can learn to fight and become a hero, this is a fun read with plenty of action and adventure. So, if you're feeling a little underprepared for the inevitable zombie apocalypse, pick up this book and get ready. Thanks for watching and see you next time.